You are vibe coding and you find yourself in a situation that you want to make sure that the application you are creating is structured correctly. And more specifically, what software engineers call the correct architecture. So in this video, I'm going to show you as fast as possible how to set up your architecture so it's scalable. It doesn't give you a crazy bill once you actually get hundreds of thousands of users, and basically best standard operating procedure when it comes to senior engineers and creating good software. Does that sound good? Let's jump in. You already know the vibes. We got two major columns here. When creating an application, it's like anything. It's like when you bake a cake. If you use the wrong ingredients, you're going to get a really bad cake. So make sure to use eggs, okay? Number one of what makes good architecture, and that is mono repo code base. What I mean by this is that all your code is found in one directory, or essentially the thing you've been vibe coding in, that folder, all the code's there. Now, you're probably already doing this naturally, but back in the old days, we used to kind of split this up into what we called a poly repo. Let's make this extremely simple to understand. You have your AI model, whatever you use, you're chatting with it. Right now, as a mono repo, it has direct line and full context of your entire application from top to bottom. One thing we used to do, and still do, is we would typically split an application into what we call a poly repo, which means that when you are in an AI chat, it might only have context of your payments, but no context of infra, authentic, like signing up a new user, logging in, the user interface. How does the homepage look like? This used to be fragmented and actually is counterintuitive to now how we code with artificial intelligence. The big reason why, and partly why you're probably watching these videos, is because of the fact that the AI is so good now and has the ability to take in so much data, a bunch of files, a bunch of text, that you're best opted to create a mono repo where all your code is stored. And to be honest with you, you probably already naturally did it because you probably jumped right into a folder and just started coding like crazy. So real quickly, just to show you what this looks like, is we are going to have our mono repo created, which you might have saw in an earlier video, but the point being is it simply is that folder that you currently have on your desktop. You want to make sure that this mono repo is connected to something in the cloud called GitHub. Or in other words, you have Google Drive, you created a Google Doc, you could download that Google Doc, have it locally, make changes, and then put it back in the Google Drive. We need the same thing to happen in software development. So right now, all the files here, which is just tech stack MD, earlier video, is just on my computer. So if my computer blew up, I would lose this file. We use something like GitHub to create a repository, or to put simply, where all our files are stored. So we're going to create that today for the application we've been developing on this channel, which is 5 Cent Club, a brokerage. 5 Cent Club Robinhood clone.com. And as you already know, and if you've watched my videos for a while, you're going to be very annoyed about what I'm about to say right now. But yes, if you've never used GitHub in your entire life, you need to know how to use GitHub, and you can learn how to use GitHub in the description down below. 5 Cent Club. I'm simply going to change this to private, and I'm going to hit create repository. This is going to be my way of creating checkpoints, version control, and everything I love. So now that I have the correct repository created and with the correct name, typically what I like to do is whatever you name your cloud repository, name it the same thing that you named your folder on your desktop. It just makes life easy. I'm going to come over here and just connect. AI is so good now that I can simply connect via a simple SSH connection, which I can just go like this. Connect this folder, provide the link I just copied via SSH, hit enter, and I've already been authenticated via SSH. Check out the GitHub tutorials to learn how, but that is simply a key. It's like when you go to your apartment and you have your keys to get in. It's confirming that you own the rights to this cloud repository to even have code put there. So we're going to go ahead and verify connect. It should be able to push here on a confirmation, and we should see one file called tech stack MD. It's going to say uncommitted, which means it's still on my computer. So I'm going to say commit and push. There we go. It's in GitHub here, and whatever app builder you use, I'm using Cursor, Codex, Cloud Code, whatever it is, you're going to make a GitHub connection sooner or later. But this is fundamentally first very important thing for any good setup is you need this kind of cloud deployment and version control. As you see here, working is clean and tracking. I love it. Now, here's something cool to understand about a mono repo that you might not even know is that even Facebook does it this way. Now, obviously, Facebook has Instagram, WhatsApp, but Facebook, all that code, millions of lines of code is in one mono repo. That is literally insane. So if you work at Meta, you have access to the entire source code of Facebook in one repository, which ironically, somehow they got it right, where now it's actually advantageous to have it in one repository because now you have full context for the AI to make really good edits on your behalf. The point being is that monorepo is the way to go from here on out. So what is number two on making sure that you have good architecture? And we're going to go over some prompts together. But number two is how you set up everything that's happening in the backend, the entire cloud. So when I went over our tech stack, I showed you how to find a good tech stack. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just check out this channel, type in Corbin tech stack. What I'm going to do and what I like to do when starting a fresh project is create the skeleton first. So I'm going to say, I want to create the skeleton for this application for the architecture. I'll show you what a skeleton is pretty soon here. Skeleton. Realize we need a shared database so the user who is on mobile can access the same thing a user can access on web app. This is just kind of nuanced to my specific tech stack, which is going to be a brokerage. Users that make trade on their phone should be able to see that trade on the website as well. So I'm going to first off make sure that we're in plan mode here, especially for a very big task like this. And then we're going to go over the outputs, see if AI tweaked out, and then I'll explain what is good and what is bad. Now, typically before we're shooting off a plan, we'll get questions. And if you don't know how to answer these, I suggest just go with whatever is recommended. But I'm also going to show you a cool tool you can use to get more context. So we'll say recommended here. And then typically, especially early stages, you want to use placeholders here so that we can just get going and then plug and play later on. So I'm going to hit continue as well. I'm going to let it build it out. But while it's building it out, I'm going to install Boost OS into this project. This is going to allow me to do slash commands that I use all the time and are extremely reusable that you could use as well for building out your software. This is Boost OS. I created it. Description down below. Simply install. And I have a non-developer, which you just paste this into your chat, and also just developer. So I'm just going to copy this little terminal command. I'm going to come up here to terminal and just paste this and install. So with that installed though, what I can do to make my life easier if I don't know what's happening here is I can simply go down here and put slash explain. And this is going to explain in very simple builder terminology of what we're about to do. So as I described before, we're making a plan for organized starter folder structure 5 cent club. And that essentially both the mobile and web are designed to have the same backend. Very, very, very important for my application. I'm gonna hit build. So I'm gonna let this set up and then we will see exactly what I mean by skeleton. So here's our result. I went ahead and bring up the files here. And what you'll notice is that pretty good structure. We got app, the mobile, the web, and all this skeleton really is long-term, how we're gonna be organizing all the code files. And it should look something like this, right? The docs, these are like MD files that we care about that we can check up on again. The infra is going to be everything involved with the different types of calls, such as authentication, everything of this nature. But the point being is that this is good skeleton structuring. What you want to do though, because of how important it is, especially in these early stages during setup, is confirm it's following the lines in which you set within the tech stack. So I'm going to go and do the prompt here. Fully audit the skeleton. Is it using GCP, Cloudflare, Alpaca API as expected? Look online if needed. Your equivalent might be if I'm using Vercel, is it using Vercel correctly? Is it using XYZ correctly? Just check its work and then confirm that everything looks good in the beginning. You want bedrock when you're shooting off an application. Look at all that searching. Is searching the internet. So it looks good. And you want it to look good when it's this early, right? When there's not that much code and it's very simple. The core architecture is correct. Flutter, mobile, and Next.js web. Same backend. Fastify API, Cloud Run, all good. All within GCP, Cloudflare. There's no variance here. So if this set up, let's go over and really understand what is happening here when it comes to front end and back end when creating an application. So what you need to understand about front end, we'll dive into this first, is that the front end really is the shell of the application. If you have no back end, it won't be able to do anything for the consumer. So when choosing the setup and understanding your front end, this is the look, feel, and limitations of your underlying platform. Put simply, just look up examples. If you're making a mobile app, what's the difference between a Swift UI, a Flutter UI, a React Native UI, like all those different user interfaces? There's limitations, and there's reasons you go with either one. In theory, the best possible 5 cent club ever existed in the world for the iPhone would have been built on Swift. But I am willing to bite the bullet and develop it on Flutter so I can access the entire Android market as well. But if the front end is the shell, and find a good shell you like, it looks good, you like the user interface, the back end's the body. It's what moves the platform. It's the whole situation when you hit sign up. Like, that's not a front end situation. You hit sign up, it's going to be talking to the back end, it's going to be building all that data, everything we know up to this point. Now, let me give you a very specific example of this so it's very easy to understand. You have your front end here, an amazing photo. I have an image. Right? My front end has an image. It's my landing page. A version of bad architecture would be something along the lines of this. You have your front end, but then whatever your back end you're currently using, you have no middle cache server layer. You have no middle cache edge layer. So what this looks like is that user from Tokyo arrives to my landing page. I am only using GCP. That means that every single time a new user arrives to my landing page, they're communicating directly with Google Cloud. What's your equivalent? Vercel, whatever it may be, whatever you deployed your hosting on, it's communicating directly with the truth, the source. This is fine. This works. And you probably know it works because you've deployed plenty of things and you realize that I have a live website link and you just kind of proceeded. But this is actually bad architecture for your setup. You don't want this kind of relationship. Here's what you really want. You want your truth layer. So my truth layer in this context is GCP. I don't know what yours is, but your truth layer is all that data, the user's information, the user's trades, everything of this nature. But then we add something like Cloudflare to act as a middle layer in our architecture. So what does this mean? So let's say that same user from Tokyo arrives at my landing page. Now, instead of them hitting my direct source of truth or like, please don't go down situation, they'll be hitting Cloudflare. And what Cloudflare does, and the use case of Cloudflare, and there's a ton, is they have a server in Tokyo that serves that image, that serves that landing page. So right now, maybe a lot of my functions are in, you know, when it said like US Central 1, that quite literally means a server room in some state in the middle of America, like Nebraska. You know the vibes. US Central 1. So this data is being served from the middle of America. That's when you choose the different locations to serve your platform. They're literally warehouses of computers that are serving your platform. But what Cloudflare does is it creates this middle layer here where we're not hitting US Central 1. We're hitting Cloudflare's servers. Therefore, the user from Japan in Tokyo, they come to my landing page. They're hitting a server that's located in Tokyo. Let me take a step back. What are the implications of that? Think about it. It's the internet. The user in Tokyo trying to access the same landing page, how much longer do you think it's going to take comparatively if the actual computer is located in their country comparative to the hardware that GCP is located in Nebraska? The latency, the duration that it takes for the data to arrive to the Tokyo user is longer because they have to come all the way to America. Alternatively, that same Tokyo user will get the information and data faster because it's literally located in Tokyo, like the computer, the warehouse. This is edge. And this is fundamentally extremely important. And you probably missed this because what AI does is it tries to expedite production. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times when using artificial intelligence, it's just like, let me just build it. Let me get it out. Let me get it out. Chill out. And that is why you got to use something like an edge server. So it's better user ability, but also you save a ton of money because what then Cloudflare does is that they'll actually cache. You ever heard caching before? Where they will make it so that second user from Tokyo arrives at the page, they will get the data that the first user had, and then therefore it is not only faster, but it doesn't cost you money. The logic and steps and processes apply to anyone, right? San Francisco, Los Angeles, Berlin, same idea is this also gives you the ability to have a nice server in between your truth server because it adds like a security layer as well as you can imagine. That's why a lot of big platforms use something like Cloudflare. So if someone starts going crazy, cracked out, and tries to attack you, you have this middle layer of protection that's purely here so that the direct line of attacking this exists. If this didn't exist, someone tries to go crazy on me, they are literally just they keep hitting my main source of truth of GCP. So that's real setup. That's real architecture. And you just learned something so fundamentally extremely important that I've already bought. And this is not financial advice. I bought a ton of Cloudflare stock because I'm extremely bullish on Cloudflare because of that specific example right there. As more people realize the value of having a edge server like that, the more user adoption. So there you go. Now you understand how to properly set up architecture for your application. One, start with a skeleton, have it structured correctly, keep auditing it, make sure it looks good. Two, make sure you're connecting to some type of cloud repository or just simply put GitHub, learn GitHub. Three, proper cloud architecture typically involves two sources of truth. Therefore, if GCP ever goes down, Cloudflare can back me up. If Cloudflare ever goes down, which we're used to, we've seen that a lot, GCP can back me up, right? Yin and yang. So you felt like you learned something in today's video, make sure you leave a like. I'll see you in the next. The Corbin quite literally just explained cloud architecture as simple as possible and then showed you the realization that you probably are only using one version of cloud architecture where you're just like, wait, Corbin, I just deployed to Vercel. You need more type of video.